Athletics World Weekly heads to the United Kingdom and the capital city of London for the 32nd edition of the Virgin London Marathon. The London race, originally inspired by the 1979 New York City Marathon, is considered by many to be the highlight race of the spring marathon season. One of the world's greatest marathons, London boasts a fast, flat marathon course and is the site of multiple world record performances in the past, as well as the current women's world record of 2:15:25 set by Paula Radcliffe in 2003. As is now customary at all marathon major races, the women's start precedes the men by 45 minutes. A guarantee that if a world record performance is accomplished, there will be no controversy related to men pacing female athletes. A world record performance is always a possibility at London, and this year is no exception, as outgoing race director Dave Bedford has again managed to put together an amazing field of elite female athletes, calling it the best women's field ever seen. With 4 sub-220 runners in the lineup and 13 runners who have footed faster than 2:23, it will be hard to argue David's boast of world's greatest. And as an added bonus to the proceedings, the Virgin London Marathon was to serve as the unofficial Kenyan Marathon Trials for the 2012 London Olympics, so all the Kenyan elite women were primed and pumped for today's event. Returning champion Mary Katani, Lucy Kabu, the two Kiplagats Florence and Edna, Priska Jeptu, along with a host of Ethiopians with Olympic dreams, together with perfect weather conditions after a week of London rain, had everyone feeling today was going to be special. By 2 miles, or 3,000 meters, the field had broken into 2 packs, with former World Marathon Majors champion German Irina Mikatinko and current Olympic champion Romanian Constantin Adida as the only 2 non-East Africans in this field of 15. But they would soon fade into the background by 5 kilometers. Kenyan Lucy Kabu, apparently not satisfied with the tempo, moved up to challenge the pacemakers to quicken things up a bit. The sprightly first mile of 5:37 and a first 5 kilometers of 16:50 had the group on a sub-220 pace, fast but a bit cautious considering the talented field and all the money and Olympic selections at stake. This pace put a world record out of reach at this early stage, however it set up a big bag of fireworks to be let off at the back end of today's race. The men's elite start and the start of the 36,000-strong supporting cast is the stuff of running dreams for millions of athletics enthusiasts worldwide. The men's elite, or the blue start at Blackheath, is just one of 3 start zones that have been incorporated to handle the ever-increasing crowds that want to experience the London event. The men's elite field is as impressive, or perhaps even more so, than the women's section. The 2 fastest men to ever run a marathon, world record holder Patrick McCall and number 2 all-time by a mere 4 seconds Wilson Kipsang, are in this race to duel for the first time since their respective achievements last fall. That matchup in itself has been anticipated by athletics fans for months, but when you consider the long list of Kenyans and Ethiopians all vying for a place on their country's Olympic team, any fan of running realized this race was going to be better than the upcoming Olympics. The men's race got off to a quick start. Actually, blazing start is the better word. A first mile in 4:41 barely dented a pack of 13 as the next major split of 5 kilometers was passed in 14:37, well ahead of course and world record pace. This sub 5 minute per mile pace was apparently not fast enough for record holder Patrick McCall as he grabbed the pace from the appointed pace runners and urged them onward into the running stratosphere. One had to wonder what McCall was thinking, as the pace was very fast indeed. However, McCall was soon to drop out of the race, claiming foot problems. The Tower Bridge is the major landmark signaling the approach of the halfway mark of the Virgin London Marathon. 10 women were still bunched together at this stage as they were cruising through splits of 10 kilometers in 33:36 and a speedy clip of 15 kilometers in 15:27. As they crossed Tower Bridge and the halfway point on 1:10:52, that was very fast but still close to a minute outside the predicted pace. Meanwhile, back on the men's side, as they approached the Tower Bridge, the pack had slowed a bit off the world record pace that was in sight just a few kilometers earlier. But it was at this point that Kipsang's dominance was beginning to show its obvious form. He slipped through 20 kilometers in 59:13, and 2 minutes and 59 seconds later, he bolted through the halfway point in 1:02:12, running the 13th mile in a pack-breaking 4:36. The women's pack was now a duo, passing 30 kilometers in 1:39:52. The cautious pace of the early race was now pistol, as Mary Keitany and Edna Kiplagat were all that was left of the world's greatest women's field. Scorching through 35 kilometers in 1:56:01, the women were destined to run sub 2 hours 20 minutes. This torrid tempo was maintained. This final matchup between the defending champion and the world champion was all but settled by the time this athletics tour passed Her Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress, or the Tower of London. Queen of the Roads in 2012 was to bear the name Mary Keitany. She swept past 40 kilometers in 2:11:47 and blitzed her last 2 miles in the figures of 5:02 and 5:03 respectively to enter the mall with more than a minute 13-second lead on second place Edna Kiplagat. She crosses the line in a Kenyan national record of 2:18:37, which adds up to a 1:07:44 second half marathon. Kenya's #1 Olympic marathon selection was now decided. Edna Kiplagat takes second place in 2:19:50, with Prescott Jipto picking up third in 2:20:14. Back on the men's side, Wilson Kipsang's dominance was still without question. 40 kilometers, which was passed in 1:57:58, had the pundits projecting perhaps Wilson could break the course record, which was in grasping distance if he could just find a bit more acceleration in the final stretch of the mall. As the massive crowds cheered Wilson on, he would cross the line in a spectacular 2:04:44, 4 seconds off the course record. Indeed, 4 seconds seems to be Wilson's unfavored number, as he missed the world record last October by the same equation. After Kipsang's technical dominance, it was time for a real race, as second and third place erupted into a dogfight on the grounds of the mall as Martin Lale and Teske Kabeda put on a drag race for the world viewing audience. The mano-a-mano duel between Ethiopia and Kenya was now dramatically in play, as Lale was able to summon a commanding degree of sprint speed in these final meters. It was going to be Lale second and Kabeda third in a thrilling closing finish to the podium places at this year's 2012 Virgin London Marathon.